Hello and welcome to the FTB Live Premier League Results Show. I hope everyone's well. My name's Karleigh Osborne and I am your host for tonight. And I am joined by Stitches, who is a Liverpool fan, and the first time on the show, Alfit, who's a Tottenham fan. How are you, gents?
Yeah, good, mate.
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. Good to have you on board again, Stitches. It was an enjoyable show last time. You've brought a few stats out last time. I'm sure you've got more.
You know, I love my stats. I try where I can.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And Al, first time on the show, really looking forward to kind of hearing what you got to say. I'm an Arsenal fan. So I'll be honest with you, this is the first time I've actually interested in listening to a Tottenham fan, but for the show, we'll do it.
Make it as interesting as I can, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff, gents. Well, before we get in, I'll give you all a brief introduction in me. Like I said, my name's Karleigh Osborne. I'm the host of the show tonight. I was fortunate enough to be a professional footballer for 16 and a half years, playing at all levels from the Championship down to National League. Played over 300 games, managed to win a few trophies as well on my way. So I'm really looking forward to doing this show. It's been fantastic so far. And, you know, we appreciate all the kind of the likes and comments and shares and subscriptions that you've been doing. So keep it up. Looking forward to hearing your comments for today. So shall we get involved? Should we get going, boys?
Yeah, let's go.
Good stuff. Before we get in, I should say, massive thank you to our sponsor, Moss Bros. Make sure you catch the code, 15% off. Unfortunately, at the moment, because of lockdown, that 15% isn't valid at the moment. But once we're back out of lockdown and we're all free again, once Boris Johnson lets us free, we can get back to getting your 15% and make sure you get your suit and tie ready to get back to work. Good stuff. So let's talk about the games. I think the first game we'll talk about Southampton, Newcastle. What was your take on the game, Stitches?
You know what? It was one of those games I was actually very impressed by Southampton. I don't know if you recall on the last show I was on with you discussing the fact that Ings had taken a knock and what impact that was going to have on Southampton. And you know what? They answered the questions without Ings. They still look threatening. You know, they still, you know, they got a decent result there, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put a caveat on it. They've got sterner tests to come.
For sure.
And whether or not they'll be able to keep up that kind of form without Ings, because he's a major part of the way they play. But I think Husenhauer or whatever, I can't pronounce his name. Yeah, he's got them playing really well. Since they got smacked up last season, end of last season, he's just turned it around. And you know what? Hats off to him. And after all, they're our B team, so you know we want them to do well.
Typical Liverpool fan, that Al, isn't it? Always talking about the players that have gone somewhere and they've made them better. Talking about Hasenhüttl, you know, to be fair, he had a tricky start. It seemed like he was close to getting the sack probably over a year ago now, I think it is. But since that game, that 9-0 drumming, I think, by Leicester, they've really kind of changed things around, haven't they? And they have produced some really good performances. They're flying at the moment in terms of their league position in the table, you know, being in the top half. I think they was top yesterday for a bit. I think Spurs are taking that back now, so I know Al will be happy. But now, how do you think Hasenhüttl has managed to turn those things around? And do you praise the Southampton board for giving him time?
Yeah, definitely, because you go in and he's a relatively unknown name, even though he was known in certain fields, but he wasn't really a big boy. And Southampton have to kind of, apart from the top six, everybody else is scraping for a potluck manager in a way, you know. So they're all thinking, let's hope this guy does what he did. And normally it's short term. If he does do too well, he'll move on to the next club anyway. So it's always a risk. But for a board to just say, yeah, you know what, this is our man, and unless it gets drastically wrong where we're going to get relegated, then let's just stick with him. And they're so organised that you know when your team plays them, like if Arsenal or Liverpool or Tottenham are playing them, we're a little bit worried. I am. I'm thinking they've got some good players there, and you know they could beat anyone on the day, without a doubt. And that's got a big doubt to the manager. Because Southampton was just a win normally, wasn't it? Really, when for the bigger clubs like us, but now they're not. They're definitely not. So yeah, he's done well.
I would agree with that. To be fair, I mean, for Southampton, you know, they've had this a few times where they've got a manager who's sort of, you know, changed things around for them, done really well for them, and then they kind of end up being that selling club. Even with their players, it's the same kind of routine they end up going through, or situations they end up going through. Stitches, do you think Southampton need to try and change that by holding on to Hasenhüttl, and do you think he deserves a bigger job?
I think in football sometimes we tend to overreact too quickly. Like if a manager does badly in a very quick, short space of time, we want to get rid of him and bring someone else in. And likewise, when a manager does well, we get a bit carried away and, you know, start talking. It was Ole at the wheel at Man United, for example. Everyone's getting carried away and then they got brought back down to earth. So I think he needs to do it for a little bit longer. I do rate him because obviously he's working within very strict limits in terms of what funds he has to strengthen that team. But you've got to give credit to Southampton because, you know what, they've been through a raft of different managers, but they've always produced quality players or keep finding gems. I mean, I know that midfielder, what's his name? I can't remember his name. He's just gone to Spurs, hasn't he? And he's made the difference. He's made a difference in the Spurs midfield. Yeah, he's added a bit of skill. Do you know what I mean? And he can play. The boy can play. So they keep finding these players, and you know, credit to him. Pochettino started there, if I recall.
Yeah.
You know, and he done well there, and he's kind of made a name for himself, and he's gone on in the game. Well, he's out of the game at the moment, but we'll be back soon, I should think. So I think give him a bit of time. Like he's doing really well, but let's not get too carried away just yet. Do you know what I mean? If you look at an example, Swansea. We had Swansea a little while, but Martinez done really well there, and then everyone started going on about him, and you know he's gone on from there. And then you've got the guy who came in and had one good season, the Spanish guy, and you know they had Michu up front, and he was scoring goals, and then it just all went downhill after that. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
you know, 1 season, 2 seasons, then you can start talking about it.
Okay, no, fair enough. Well, moving on, let's talk about Newcastle. Newcastle obviously been going feels like a tough time for a long time. You know, the upset with the owners not being taken over, people wanting to take over but not materializing. Do you think Steve Bruce has improved them? Do you think Newcastle improving as a team? And do you think they'll kind of exceed where they need to be this year? Sorry, Al. What's your opinion on that?
With Newcastle, it's just a strange club because, like, our Newcastle a big club, and where our Newcastle expected to finish, it's like they're that team that, oh wow, Newcastle United are a massive club. They've got a massive fan base and they've got a massive stadium, but are they really a massive club? And where are they going to finish in the pecking order? Really, where do they expect to finish? They've got a steady manager in Steve Bruce. He's never really going to set the world on fire, is he? I would say he's a mid to bottom half Premier League stroke Championship manager. So I think that Mike Ashley's thought to himself, I can get this guy in and just get by. He'll keep him up. Let's have it right. He will keep him up. I think they've got some decent players. I really do. Who's the one from Bournemouth? Who went there from Bournemouth?
Fraser.
Fraser.
No, not Fraser. The striker. Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah. Wilson. Yeah, so Callum Wilson, that's a good player. I would have liked him at Tottenham as backup to Kane, but he probably wouldn't want to go and be backup to Kane. Yeah. But I just think that's a good player. They've had some good players, but it's like, I don't know what their fans are. They're a little bit like Tottenham. Like, their fans are on this hype that we're a massive club, we're this. But where do you see Newcastle finishing in the top 8, realistically?
No, not at all.
So so after 8, where it's like, what are they? Like, where are they gonna? You know, they're not going to get relegated. They're not going to finish in the top 8, and I think that's where they actually are with that squad and that manager. But they need to. It's like they need to do something, or just Mike Ashley's happy with them just sitting there. We'll be here. We're in the Premier League. He keeps getting the money rolling in. I know he wants to sell the club, but unless they've got that big money owner, I feel that the only realistic way is that before Newcastle's going to finish top 6 or get relegated, you're more than likely to say they get relegated. Like, do one or the other. So I think that they're in a really tricky situation, and I just feel sorry for the fans. I do. I know how it feels that you just don't really. You're like nothing. You're just you play with the top and the bottom for them, and They're just really, I don't know about them, to be honest. They don't really fear me. Like Tottenham play them, I think we should beat them.
Yeah. Do you think this is to you? Do you think that the Newcastle fans are holding on to the Newcastle of old in terms of when they had, you know, their fun, exciting times of Espria playing, David Ginola, you know, Andy Cole, when they had players like that playing? Do you think they're holding on to those kind of times and still feel that they're associated with those times? Because to be fair, when I think it was Kevin Keegan was manager at the time, they you know, they was challenging and they were up there. Do you think they're still holding on to those times? You know, they've had some fantastic players. Alan Shearer, to name another one as well, an absolute legend there.
Yeah, I would say that they're a sleeping giant. You know, I mean, they're a sleeping giant. They're a club with so much potential, absolutely die-hard fan base, but they've just been let down by ownership, in my opinion, and a lack of investment in the club. So, whilst historically they're a big club, I think in terms of current situation, you can't really put them in that bracket. And it comes back to that age-old question: what is a big club? You know, I have the same argument with Liverpool fans that, you know, the expectation of the last 30 years was based on our history. And for me, I'm just kind of like, you have to take stock and look at where you are. Do we have a right to be challenging? And Newcastle fans have to have the same kind of conversation and reevaluation of their expectations. And, you know, and I think in the main they do. But, you know, the fans, you know, terrific fan base. But I think Newcastle are actually one of those teams that right now benefits from not having fans in the stadium in terms of the pressure on the players on a day-to-day. They can actually go out there and perform without the added weight of expectation that the fan base is putting on them in the stadium. So, you know, it's a tricky one. I totally agree with Al. Like, you don't expect them to push into that top six. If they did, that would be phenomenal. Mike Ashley knows he's onto a winner here in terms of, you know, the manager's going to keep them there or thereabouts. They're not going to, you know, rip up any trees in terms of what they're going to do. And he can just get by until he's able to sell the club. And I think that's what he's looking for, really.
Sorry, I just think when I'm going back to what I was saying, I just think if they was going to forward plan, they should have got someone like Eddie Howe and thought, let Eddie Howe be our manager for the next 5 to 10 years. He's a young man, obviously a good manager, and let's just go with him. But no, let's get Steve Bruce, who's just sturdy, and he will just keep us in the 8th to 16th, and then that's just what they're happy to do right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, to be fair, and I see your points. I think it's funny what you said there, Stitches, about fans. I think that's half our problem as fans. We either live in the future or hold on to the past. But I suppose that's what makes football great. So, yeah, no, it's brilliant. Well, moving on. Brighton, Burnley. Not the most exciting. A 0-0 there, obviously. Let's talk about Brighton to start with. Graham Potter, do you think he's taken Brighton as far as he can?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got very strong views on what's happened at Brighton. And you know, there's a lot of debate, but I just feel that okay, it wasn't the greatest football, but he did all right there. And I think that they're not going to do much better than that, unfortunately. I mean, you know, the football looks a bit better, but again, where are they going to go? What is the expectation? Where do you really expect Brighton to finish, considering the type of squad that they've got or the strength of the squad? They're not doing anything that's unexpected right now, and I don't expect them to do any better. You know, we talk about Burnley. You know my views on Burnley. I think they're a pointless team. I really do. I'm sorry, Burnley fans.
Burnley fans love you.
Yeah, I know they do. They'll be hunting out there looking for me right now. But it's pointless. It's just, I don't know. I'm a bit, maybe naive is the word, in that I watch football to be entertained, right? And there are many different ways that you can be entertained watching football. But Burnley just they don't entertain me. And, you know, yeah, they don't at all. I wouldn't, if there was a match against Burnley, I find it hard to watch Liverpool v Burnley. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's my own team. I'm just like, it's just that team that I know it's going to be a dull game. It's going to be very physical. It's going to be a battle of attrition, and we just got to get there, get that result. And you know, with Brighton, yes, they're trying to do things the right way, but I don't have an expectation of them to be, you know, pushing for Europe or anything like that. Graham Potter's done really well. I see what he's trying to do, and he's a very brave manager in that regards. And, good luck to them. Do you know what I mean? I think they're trying to play football the right way. They've got some young, exciting players there, but where do you really expect them to finish?
Yeah, no, that's a good point, in fairness. And Al, I mean, I think Stitches made some really good points there, to be fair, about kind of Brighton haven't necessarily moved on or done anything better than when they was in charge by Chris Hughton. Obviously, Chris Hughton did move them very far. He'd done a fantastic job there. Unfortunately, kind of wasn't able to stay there. But I mean, for me, I feel that Brighton are playing better football. But I'm very much in the opinion with Stitches, in fairness. I don't really know where they sit or where they should be. I mean, what do you think? And especially in comparison to Burnley, because is Sean Dyche in the same situation that maybe he's taken Burnley as far as he can as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. So with Brighton, I slightly disagree with Stitches with regards to how Chris Hughton. I thought Chris Hughton's days was done. I thought that he brought them because remember he brought Newcastle up and then he got wrongly dismissed there. He definitely got wrongly dismissed there. They should have kept hold of him. Brighton got them up. The biggest achievement ever, taking that team up because that team was my wife's from Brighton and that team there was like when they were in the little Wibdeen and they had things, So that team there, and I used to root for them, think, come on, Brighton, geez, one year, and then they were so close every year. And then that 1 year when they lost it on the last day, the last minute, and all sorts of madness. And I thought to myself, yes, Chris, you got them up, you've done well. Then they were just gold. I think that Chris Hughton he looked at his squad and thought, this team can't really compete in this league, so let's just done it up and let's just try and make some points here and there. And they were dull. They were really dull. And this manager, at least for the fans, I think that he's probably not going to take them any further, but at least the fans get something to watch and they've got nice, exciting, a bit of football to watch. And sometimes with these teams, and it's rough to say, but it's kind of inevitable. When are they going to go down, sort of thing? Is it going to be this year or next year, the year after? At some stage, they're going to go. Like back in the day when Bolton, we're just waiting for Bolton to go down 1 year, and then Wigan, them sort of teams. And I see Brighton as that, but my view on Brighton is that it shouldn't be. It's so close to London. So it's so close to London. It's a beautiful place to live, beautiful houses on the beach. I just think to myself, that club there is the attraction, a big attraction. If you the London clubs are London clubs, and then apart from them, it's Brighton. Like Brighton's a big club, we've got a big stadium, a beautiful stadium, big fan base, and the potential there is huge if the right person comes in. But I don't know what first strings they've got. I haven't got a clue. But I'm just thinking, if someone went in there, like if a millionaire owner, billionaire owner bought that club, you could really make something out of that club. That club, and the location alone is a catch. I feel that many a player just on the fringe of a top six club would want to play at Brighton. So I think that they've done the right thing. But where's this manager going to take them? No further than Hughton, just potentially be a better football to watch.
See,
fair enough.
Can I just come back on that? I agree. I see your point. I totally see your point. But what I would say is this: you look at Burnley, and the same question could be answered. You say about dull football and whatnot. Burnley do the same thing season after season. They're not progressing. They're not going anywhere. But he's celebrated. Do you know what I mean? He's celebrated. But Chris Hughton has done exactly the same thing, and he's lost his job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So when you look at it on that level, I don't see the difference. Like, I agree with you because I want to watch entertaining football as well. But I think that some managers at some club with the resources that they've got to make a pragmatic decision about, do we entertain or do we keep this club in this lucrative Premier League? And once that decision gets made, do you know what I mean? I mean, what was this team a few seasons back? They played Hull City. They played fantastic football, everyone's favourite team, but they went down.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But they went down. So there's a point where you have to be pragmatic. I get it, right? But some people lose their jobs and others get to keep their jobs being pragmatic.
I agree, sorry, Karleigh, but I agree with the Burnley thing, and I agree with exactly what you said, with regards to you don't want to watch that team play. Like, it's the most boring thing. You know what they're going to do. I've been to Tottenham Burnley games, the two we played at Wembley, and I think I went to the one at the new stadium, and it's like, we're going to go there. I think we gave them a beating, actually, so it was quite entertaining. I think we beat them 4-0, but at Wembley, it was just dull. It was 1-0 up, and I remember Chris Wood scored on his debut and made it 1-0 in the last minute. But you could just see it coming. Like, what they had done is just sat there, thinking, hope it's 1-0 with 5 minutes to go, and then we'll just throw some balls up to the big man up top, and it will knock it down. Now, I love football, and I don't see anything wrong with that in the way that if that's what you've got, if that's your resources, then you use your resources wisely. And Sean Dyche does use his resources wisely. He's loved, adored by the Burnley fans. I know one Burnley fan, and he literally adores Sean Dyche. He was like, he can never get sacked. But if somebody else came in there and got them relegated, then the fans would never forgive the chairman, you know. So I think that they're thinking, well, we've got a good thing here. We're still in the Premier League. I don't think Burnley will get relegated, personally. I think they ruffle up too many people to get relegated. And while Sean Dyche is there, unless they're in deep, deep trouble, I think that he will just continue to just rake in the money for the club, and they'll just stay where they are.
That's some good points, gents. I kind of see both points, and I'm with you. I think Sean Dyche, for what he's done at Burnley, and I think Burnley are probably, on the face of things, maybe punching above their weight, so to speak. So I think for him, I understand why he's kind of lauded and loved so much by Burnley, and he's been terrific with his resources. And I think that's half of the problem sometimes. I think fans, us as fans, we sometimes forget that managers are doing the best they can with the resources they have, and not every team can go and play beautiful, expansive football that's really, really entertaining, because by doing that, they're going to create themselves a problem where, they will concede goals, or it will be punishment for them. And ultimately, when that happens, managers lose their job either way. So it's always a tough one, really. Moving on, though, Everton, Man United. Ollie's had a tough week. I don't know if you saw the interview, but you could tell by his interview he wasn't very happy with the time of their kickoff and things like that. And obviously, you could tell that he was massively relieved in terms of that result. How do you think, firstly, what it's like Everton, do you think Everton's kind of good run has already come to a halt? And do you think they're now going to start to kind of struggle and just be where we thought they would be at the start of the season? What's your thoughts on that, Al?
Yeah, I think that will be the case with Everton. I think that they've got some really good players. The James Rodriguez, let me just I said on him first, is that guy is a serious football player, and he always has been. It's not like, oh, look who Everton have got. We all knew James Rodriguez was a baller. But even when he was tearing it up early on in the season, I was still. Did you ever see the stat? Well, you might have seen the stat, where he said where he didn't do any sprints in the game.
Yeah.
So I just thought to myself, where's the longevity in that? Yeah, you're a fantastic baller, and when things are running smooth like they're winning every game, you can afford to accommodate that. The guy not sprinting and the guy spraying up 30, 40, 50-yard balls all over the place. But when it starts to get tougher, it's James Rodriguez on the sprint back and defend the England, which means you're playing with 10 men. And I just thought to myself, they're tricky one then, because the fans are not going to want James Rodriguez on the bench. So when it starts to get tough, when they're away at Burnley and stuff like that, it's like, oh, why is James Rodriguez playing? So the manager then has a problem, because he's thinking he's not actually that fantastic. Because we don't see them train. I mean, you know as well as anyone, you've been pro for many years. You know that we don't see you train. We see you play on Saturday, and then we think, is he good or not? Like, without deviating, it's like Eric Lamela. Eric Lamela played for Tottenham, and when he plays, he's terrible. But I know that guy must be a baller, and he must be training harder training to get that manager to consistently pick him, So So with Everton, I just see them just being that team that they beat us first game of the season, and they were excellent, and then they played really well against Liverpool when they drew 3-3. Are they just going to raise their games for the big boys? And who knows? But yeah, Man United done a job on them, and fair play to Ollie. He's got some really good results this season. And I think that he's got to be backed by the board and the fans. The fans don't want to turn on him. Like, they really don't want to turn on him. They don't want to turn on him. It's like Gerrard being manager at Liverpool and doing bad. They wouldn't want to turn on him. But at some stage, it's like, where are you going? Pochettino's there. Go and get Pochettino to be your manager. I really don't understand. Someone's got to grow some balls and say, buy Ollie. You can have a job in the back room, but Pochettino's our manager now. I don't see it. I don't know why. And I know many Man United fans that secretly really, really want that to happen. But yeah, that's my view on Man
No,
United.
I agree, to be fair. Coming to you, Stitches, because I know you love talking about Man United, especially at the moment.
Look, I'm Team Ole in.
Yeah, I thought you might be. How does future look for now? Ole's kind of,
mate, long may it continue, mate. Long may it continue.
Do you think they'll make the top 4?
No, I told you already. They're not gonna. But you know what, right? I love the fact that they get this bounce. They're gonna probably win the next 2 games. Everyone's gonna be like, United are back, and then they're gonna crash again. And that's the sign of instability. That's a sign of a manager that doesn't necessarily. He's out of his depth. Like, let's be honest about it. That's my opinion anyway. I think he's out of his depth. I mean, what has he done to qualify him to be Man United manager? There's certain clubs that are like institutions in football, right? You don't go there to cut your teeth. You go there when you've achieved stuff and you're big enough to walk into that dressing room and just demand respect. I don't necessarily see that from Ole. I feel like he's that manager who's everyone's mate, isn't it? And do you know what I mean? And then I don't know. Like, I just don't see him giving them the hairdryer treatment, which they might need once in a while. You know, that velvet steel. I don't see it. But it's not my problem. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with how things are going over there. Everton, let me just correct you, Al. They didn't really play that well against us. They just assaulted us, right? So let's get that straight. It was. Do you know what? When they started off with a great season, every single season for the last 2 seasons, I've heard Everton fans and people saying, you know what, Everton going to do something this season. You know, they're going to do something this season, and they always usually start off quite well and then peter out. And with Rodriguez, they have got a quality player there, but he was quality 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, what did he really do in that time? And I've always had a question mark about how robust he is as a player, given that he has such horrific injuries that he's had to come back from. And that has got to take its toll on the player as a person, physically. No, and then you're coming into the Premier League, probably one of the most physically testing leagues in world football. I don't see him playing out the season. Like, do you know what I mean? They're going to have to be very creative in terms of his training schedule and how they manage him. Because he's already, missed a few games already from injury this season. And, you know what I mean, with the extra difficult schedule that we've got this year, it's going to be very tricky. But credit where it's due. When you have that first team together, that they've put together, a very strong first team, and, you know, on their day, they could take a result off anyone. But I just don't see, it's a squad game now, especially this season. And I just don't see them being there at the end of it. And Calvert-Lewin, he got off to an absolute blinder. But in the Premier League, people work things out. They work you out. And you've got to be able to change it up again. And it takes a while. So, you know, I expect them to come back again. But I don't necessarily see them being as on a streak like they were previously.
Okay. Well, Crystal Palace, that's a great result for them. They've had a fantastic start to the season for Palace, for sure. One of their most exciting games, because Palace don't score 4 often, that's for sure. You know, what did you take? And has Roy Hodgson got Palace to hit the ground running? I would say, yeah. What about, does he take them any further, though? Again, it's a similar question in terms of, you know, Burnley and Brighton. With the players that they do have some flair now in terms of Zaha, Abiri Eze, Jordan Ayew. So they've got some good attacking threat. Do you think they maybe need a change if they want to kind of continue the form they're in and maybe go to another level? Or do you think they just need to stay where they are, stick with Roy Hodgson and just enjoy this good few months that they're having and hope it kind of gets them a few places up the table? What's your thoughts on that, Al?
Yeah, well, I'm quite a fan of Roy Hodgson. I don't think Roy Hodgson. I think Roy Hodgson's a good manager, and I think he's. I mean, the England thing didn't go too well, really. Liverpool thing didn't go too well, but he's a good manager, and I think that's his level. He's found his level. So it's about whether Palace. When we say this about a lot of clubs, where are they going to go? So let's have it right. Let's round up. There's four things to win at the beginning of the season. Man City and Liverpool are probably going to win 1 or 2 of them. Yeah, do we agree with that? Probably more likely. Things are like that. So you got 2 things left. Well, they're not in 2, they're only in 3, aren't they? Because they're not in Europe. So then Man United, Liverpool. I mean, Man City, Liverpool are probably going to win 1 or 2 of them. You have one thing left. Like, where are they going to go? And can they break into the top 6? No, I don't think they can. I think that as soon as Zaha gets out of there, which he needs to do for his career, then I feel that will be the demise of them. I think, and unless they get a replacement, where you replace him with Zaha, he's not just a footballer. He's a big part of that club. Like, he's a local lad and stuff like that. He is Palace, and I think that that's just. So when they lose him, they're in big trouble. And I know he went to Man United, it didn't work, but I feel that was his attitude. I would love Zaha at Tottenham, like, badly. I think he would play for any club, but he's the most flamboyant player in the Premier League. Is in with you don't know what he's doing. Like, he's proper, like the estates where you have the cages. That's where he played. That's where he balled from, and that's where he got created from. And I just think that he is Palace, and they're clinging on to him. They got some good players, but it's all roll ground for Zaha, isn't it? Like, I feel like that's it. But I think Roy Hodgson will always keep them steady. They'll win games. They'll surprise a few teams. But again, they've got to be another mid-table. They'll just in that mix. Potentially might nick a cup. Who knows? But if they're going to, Roy Hodgson, I feel maybe could win a cup, because I feel that he's got it tactically for one-off games, definitely.
Oh, no. So, Stitches.
Yo.
Leeds. Obviously, everyone was extremely excited when Leeds come up. The whole sort of Bielsa fan club. Obviously, Bielsa is a fantastic manager. Leeds have actually played some really exciting football, in fairness, but I think it's starting to cost them a little bit already. They are conceding goals. They were a little bit unlucky yesterday, and we'll talk about Patrick Bamford's offside and VAR in a second. But is Leeds inconsistency going to cost them this season?
Yeah. I trust Bielsa to find the answer. Right?
Yeah.
I trust him to find an answer. I don't see Leeds going down this season. I thought that they might have an outside push for Europe. But looking at their results, again, this is what I say about football. Right? We're too quick to write people in, and we're too quick to write people off. They've had a couple of bad games. Do you know what I mean? What did you expect? They've just come up. They're learning. Some of these players are stepping up a level. They've got to learn, and they've got to learn really quickly. Do you know what I mean? Not to make some of the mistakes that they've been making. And I just feel that it's difficult. It's difficult because it's a new level of football. And given the style of football that Bielsa likes to play, taking into account the volume of games in a very short space of time, I think that's going to be the biggest worry. Because it's a high intensity, high energy football. And, that's going to take its toll on these players at this level. And it's basically, can they manage that? And that's gonna be, what the answer, because they've definitely got a manager he's got enough about him to, work things out tactically and come up with game plans to win tricky games. But it's whether or not physically the team's going to be able to handle it. That's going to be the difference.
Fair enough. So let's talk about that VAR decision yesterday, in terms of Patrick Bamford's disallowed goal.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you'll agree with me. Do you feel that VAR is ruining the game, and is it something that should be gone? What's your thoughts, Al?
I think the VAR is good, but the rules need to be amended on how we use it, to be honest. Is it going to, some of them, their shoelaces are offside, and it's like, yes, you could say that his foot is in front of that guy, but that could just be the fact that he stepped down, just a little bit quicker than that guy. So that's ridiculous. That's not giving him any better chance of scoring or not scoring, in my opinion. When it's clear offside, handball, that's just a joke, ain't it? I mean, it's actually becoming a joke. I'm not sure where we're going with that handball thing. Just they amended the handball rule and just made it clear the hit your hands a penalty or something like that. I don't feel that should be the rule, but they just made it. This is the rule. So if VAR thinks the ball hits your hand, it's a penalty in the area, and I think that's the only way. Overall, I think VAR is. I don't want to say it's good for the game because it kind of ruins you. You can't celebrate goals and stuff like that. But I feel that you're going to get the majority of decisions right. There's many times when it has really worked, but things like that are only going to get the press when they go wrong. So there's many times when it has gone, but with just coming off here, just quickly, Leeds, I feel that the fans not being in Leeds Stadium, they're the biggest loss in the Premier League for not having fans in that stadium. Their fans are literally die hard. They've been waiting how long, 20 odd years for that team, or 14 odd years, I think, for that team to get back in the Premier League. Now they can't be there. They are literally the top man, and with the passion that Bielsa shows, that they would miss a point, 3 points here and there just from the fans. And I feel that that's a massive, massive loss for them. But yeah, so that's my opinion on Leeds and VAR. I mean, I'm on the fence now. I like it, but there's some incidents. Like the only thing that sticks in my head now is the Eric Dyer, where he put his arm out against Newcastle. Where I don't know your opinion, Karleigh, but you're the footballer, and I think that Eric Dyer, I think that was handball. I think that he deliberately, when the ball went over his head, thinking, oh no, Andy Carroll's going to chest this down and go around me. Let me put my arm out, make it as big as I can. But Andy Carroll heads it onto his arm. Why is your arm there? It doesn't need to be there, So, and he'd done it 5 minutes before. He'd done it and got away with it. Now, I was fuming at Eric Dyer, not VAR that day, and all the Tottenham fans were blowing up Facebook saying, that's VAR, terrible. No, Eric Dyer thought he was smart by putting his arm out, and so that Andy Carroll, to make a bigger thing that Andy Carroll would go around him, but the ball hit his arm, the penalty. But yeah, anyway, that's the rant over about Tottenham.
I'll be honest. I mean, those ones are hard. I was a defender, so sometimes momentum, when you're jumping or when you're running, sometimes it can take your arm into not unnatural places, but when you're trying to shape to maybe cross to stop a cross or something, it can put your arm a little bit wider and things like that. I think that one there, if it's the right one, I'm thinking about where he's kind of got it behind his back when he's jumping. Yeah. Me personally, there's not a lot you can do because as well, he knows he's not close enough to Andy Carroll. You end up trying to do anything to try to put him off. So he's probably trying to put a hand on Andy Carroll to maybe try and put him off his header or things like that. Yeah. It's a harsh one, but I do think that the handballs are getting out of hand. I look at the ones that's happened, with Liverpool today. Me personally, I don't really know what Joe Gomez is supposed to do. I think the handball situation is getting out of order, and I'm not a fan of VAR myself. Okay. Probably because I wouldn't have been able to get away with the stuff I would have got away with if I was still playing. But also for me, I just feel like you can't celebrate anything anymore. You got to wait 5 minutes before you can celebrate. It's kind of slowing the whole game and the whole enjoyment of when you score a goal, that euphoria, that feeling. I feel like that's gone away. And by the time you do get told it's a goal and you can celebrate, it's too late because you're kicking off again. It's like you completely miss it. What do you think, Stitches? I imagine you'd be similar.
Well, actually, I'm a bit controversial on VAR in the regards that I wanted VAR for a very long time and I still want VAR, right? But what I will say is that I feel like football fans need to separate video-assisted refereeing in terms of the technology and the application of it as a tool. Do you know what I mean? We need to separate the two. And what you've got is a situation where the technology is getting blamed for what's happening, but when actually it's the people making the decisions that are at fault. So let me give this scenario to you. VAR came in. Why? It came in because referees were making terrible decisions. That's why VAR was brought in. But ultimately, all you've done is you've given them you've made it more transparent, the decisions that they're making, right? But you've brought in the people that are making the wrong decisions, and you've made them the ultimate call on it. I've always said that refereeing, and I don't want to jump on referees or whatever, but I just think that the understanding of the game from referees, it seems to be getting worse and worse and worse, right? So you've got this technology that lets us all now see what's happened, but you've still got the people that are making the errors, making the decision. So it was ultimately always going to fail. Do you know what I mean? Added to that, what Al said is really important as well, because technology now means that the certain rules that worked previously, you got to take a long, hard look at them, and you have to tailor them now to the fact that you've got this new bit of technology and the speed of the game, and you need to take that into account, and they haven't done that. So that's one bit about VAR. The other bit about VAR is that if VAR is going to be used globally, which it is being used, right, you've got to have one consistent way of using it. Like
Yeah.
over in the UK, we get on the case about VAR, like about this, that, and the other. But in Europe, they've been using it in a certain way for a while, and they just get on with it, right? And we're complaining about it, we're tweaking it, we're changing the rules. Then when we go out to Europe or we go to internationals and we get done by a VAR decision, we feel hard done by. But the fact is, we're not playing to that. We're not getting used to it. And also with anything that's new, you got to give it time. Like, you got to give it time. People are polarized about it at the moment because they've got entrenched views anyway, and they're gonna take what they want to take out of it. But you got to give it time to bed in. You got to give it time to be smoothed out. The one criticism I would make about VAR right now is I don't understand why the referees don't go and look at the video camera more often. Like, it's like they're too arrogant to overrule their own decisions. It's like no one's gonna have a go at you if you turn around and say, you know what, I got that wrong, and make a call. Go and have a look. It takes seconds. I've got this iconic image of Thierry Henry during a game, going to the side of the pitch, turning around the sky cameras, having a look and going, there you go. And the decision could have been, it could have been changed. But yeah, you're right. It does take a bit of time. It can get a bit smoother. It could be used better, but it's at the very genesis of it. And do you know what I mean? I think fundamentally what the FA needs to decide is there's two sides to this sliding scale. Do you want to keep football flowing regardless? That's your most important objective, or is your objective to get to the right decision? Once they decide, because you're trying to do both at the moment. You can't. You got to decide what it is. Is it more important that you make the right decision, or is it more important that the game flows? Once you've made that decision, it becomes easier in terms of deciding how you apply VAR. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, as a Liverpool fan, everyone was like, Liverpool the whole of last season and whatever, but I don't think anyone can turn around and tell us that VAR's been assisting us in any way, shape, or form this season, because every time it goes to VAR this year, I'm literally like, that's going to go against us. It's going to go against us. And 99% of the time it has done. So for my own sanity, I don't expect any positive decisions when it goes to VAR anymore. I just accept that if we've scored and it's gone to VAR, it's going to get overruled. If it's a decision that could go against us in terms of a penalty, as we saw today, they're going to give the penalty. That's what it is. That's how I feel right now.
I love that. Listen, I'm really loving the show at the moment. We had some fantastic talking points so far in the game. I'm looking forward to get through the rest of these games as well. We've got some good ones coming up. Chelsea, Sheffield United, West Ham, Fulham to talk about, which I'm looking forward to that one, talk about the penalty. But before we carry on, I just want to say another massive shout out to Moss Bros for sponsoring us. It's fantastic. It's great for the support. Please keep putting in your comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love to hear your questions as well. So please keep throwing them comments in. But moving on, boys. Chelsea, Sheffield United. Sheffield United they've started poorly, and they seem to be struggling now. Chelsea are finding their rhythm, it looks like. Has Lampard found his consistent winning formula?
Again, I feel like with Chelsea, they've got a frightening attacking lineup.
Yeah.
Right. And they've not even got Pulisic, who seems to have started finding his feet in there. I just think that going forward, their worries in the dance. They're gonna cause problems, right? But the question mark still remains on them defensively. They're gonna give away chances. Silva, great signing in terms of bringing that experience and sort of pulling it all together. But will his legs be able to take it again? It's a very physical league. It's very different to the French league. It's very different to playing a World Cup where, it's a short duration of games and then that's it. Like, he's a top quality player, but he's aging. Will he be able to maintain that? Do you know what I mean? And when they come up against the elite teams, the top 6 teams, it's going to be more of a challenge. So whilst I think, yes, Lampard seems to have he's moving forward in terms of getting that team to gel, I'm still not convinced that defensively they're there yet. Although the goalkeeper's made a massive difference as well. I have to give credit there. It's a great signing.
Sheffield United, they've lost 7 of their opening 8 games.
Yeah.
What's happened to them, and how do they make a difference? How do they change things around?
Again, like Lee, the fans for Sheffield United, they're these passionate people in a little tight enclosed stadium. They're massive for them, and I think that's there ain't going to be no fans for the rest of this season. If we're realistic, even if there is, there's going to be a few at the end. But yeah, I feel they're on a spiral. They're in big trouble. I think. I mean, where do you see them going from here? They need to start winning some games, and it's hard to do sometimes. I mean, even the big clubs, when they go through losing patches, it's hard to nick a point. Anyway, everything's going against you. Obviously, they'll come good. They'll stop picking up the wins. They're not that bad a side. And Leipzig's never a really good side. But like Stitchy said earlier, when you get found out, you get found out. And maybe they've been found out. And maybe that nobody, their fear factor's gone. They were really good. They came to White Lane last year and it was 1-1. They should have beat us. I was there and I'm thinking, it's a good side. They're really organised, really strong. And they look dangerous the whole time they were going forward. But that seems to have gone. And it's hard to get that spark back with fear. And no one fears them. You're going to Sheffield United to win now. Whereas before, it's like, Sheffield United could do us here, or at least draw with us. Now it's like, yeah, I don't fancy will beat Sheffield United. And with Chelsea, again, like I could just follow on from what Stitchy said with the defence. So this is why I feel Chelsea do have a chance of winning the title this season. It would burn me if they did, but I think that we're all got terrible defences. Without a centre back, there's no, now that Van Dijk's gone, not terrible, that's completely wrong word. Let me rephrase it. I don't think any of our centre back pairings are Premier League winning centre back pairings now. Like we continuously play Dyer and Sanchez. I don't know why. Like Alderweireld is there. Alderweireld with one of them playing really well. Like Vertonghen, but I don't know why we got rid. But their legs were a little bit going. But that would be a Premier League winning defence centre back pairing. But every one of our pairings, I don't know if you agree or disagree, has got mistakes in them. And I think that Chelsea, because they've got a mistake in them, as Tottenham, as Liverpool, as Arsenal, as Man United, as City, as Chelsea might be. Liverpool have obviously got the best front three on paper because of what they've proven. But if Chelsea click, then they could just run right with that forward. Not just the strikers, it's like Mason Mount when he's on fire. He's a very, very good player, and Ziyech and Pulisic. I watched Tottenham Dortmund a couple of years ago now. I didn't know how the end of the Dortmund players was at Wembley, and I saw this guy, this 19-year-old guy, like killing Trippier. And I'm thinking, who is this fella? I've got the programme, looked at the back, Pulisic. So I didn't even know who he was. So it's not like I preempted like what I'm going to think of this guy. I looked and I thought, wow. And he's come on. He's a fantastic player, Pulisic. So yeah, I think Chelsea have got a strong chance to win the league. Is Lampard experienced enough? Stranger things have happened, you know. He hearts there. He chips to Chelsea, ain't he? And you know, I think that they got a chance. So yeah, I agree that their centre backs aren't good, but I don't think anybody's centre backs are good.
Yeah.
See, I think you say that. Like, I'm not trying to defend the Liverpool thing, but it's funny that everyone said the wheels were going to come off when Van Dijk got injured. But I mean, we touched on this a couple of weekends ago, and you know, Matip's not a bad centre back himself. There was a point when he was playing with Van Dijk, and I actually thought he was the better of the two. Do you know what I mean in terms of what he was doing? So you're right. It is everyone can make mistakes, but I just feel like, to go back to Sheffield United, they've made a really good signing from us in terms of Ryan Brewster, right? I think he can score goals, but they don't create chances. Like, I would hate to be a striker in that team. Like, you're expected to do all the dog's work, but they don't create anything. And if you've got a guy who can put the ball in the back of the net, I would think that you need to structure your team in a way where you give him at least 3 or 4 chances a game, because then you got a chance. And I think that's what they're going to need to do, because the way they're playing at the moment, they're not creating enough chances to win games. And as long as you're not scoring goals, as everyone says, defense first, but you can always make a mistake. You can always leak a goal. You've got to score goals to get 3 points. Do you know what I mean? And that's what my view on them is.
Oh, fair enough. Some good points. Moving on, West Ham Fulham. Tough game for Fulham. It's not looking great at the moment for them. You know, what are Fulham's chances of staying up? And what was Lookman thinking with the penalty right at the end there? He's had a chance to get a point for his team, and he's unfortunately, you know, he's missed the penalty, but he's tried to take a Panenka penalty. It's not worked out. Where do Fulham's next points and next win come from? What do you think, Stitches?
I think they're struggling, if I'm being honest. I think they're really struggling. I thought Mitrovic, you know, I thought he'd be a bit talismanic because he's been there, done that. Do you know what I mean? They are really struggling. I feel for Lukeman actually. It takes big balls to try and take a Paneka. And in the last, they were actually out of time. Do you know what I mean? Like at that point, you got to put your foot through it, mate. You've got to just pick a corner and put your foot through it and say to the goalkeeper, make a save. And he's gonna need some picking up. The manager, I just feel like they're a club with no confidence right now. I think the manager's trying his hardest, but again, he's learning at this level as well. Do you know what I mean? He's learning at this level, and it's unfortunately the Premier League is not forgiving, and you know you don't get afforded to be making the kind of mistakes they're making and not have the nous that they haven't got, and still expect to be there or thereabouts. I fully feel like they're going to be going down. I'm sorry because I kind of like Fulham, but yeah, again, it's going to be a tough season for them.
Yeah, for sure. Al, West Ham, do you think they've turned the corner now? You know, they've taken points off Tottenham, taken points off Man City, and you know, they've took Liverpool really, really close to the wire as well. Do you think they've maybe turned a corner?
Yeah, I do. I think that West Ham are looking good, surprisingly. Under that manager who's normally dull, they're looking quite tidy, to be honest. And I think they've got some good players. And again, they're not in the Burnley and Brighton category. I think that they're dangerous. I think West Ham are dangerous. I think that David Moyes, he seems to get players playing sometimes. Like it obviously didn't work at Man United, but at Everton, let's never forget that at Everton he was a steady manager. I know they're always going to say it went up, but he was steady and they were punching at that stage with the teams they had, the players they had. And I think that West Ham, they've got a good infrastructure, and I think that he might do good for them. You know, I think they could push for I don't know about top six, maybe like 7th place spot around there. I think that they're maybe behind like the 6 and 7. We know are going to be there. I think that they're next. I think they'll be strong. I do, and that the heart they showed to come back against us. Funny enough, I was devastated that we let 3 points slip and it went to 1. But I kind of from when I played football, I think respect to them. They were 3-0 down against London rivals, getting absolutely battered, and they came back and they've done it. I know we fell apart a bit, but to do that, you've got some team spirit in you, and you've got the dressing room. If they're going to come back from 3-0 down against a good Tottenham team that could have attacked them any time with quality players. So there you look, it shows you what they're about. Like you wouldn't see any of them other teams doing that really. Burnley, Brighton, Fulham, none of them doing that. But they would just fell apart and held a 3-0. But yeah, I think the West Ham have got a bit about them. And gone just on Fulham, they're in deep trouble. I feel that they definitely will go down, even though it's only 8 games gone. And I also think that they shouldn't have come up. Like, I followed the Championship a little bit, and they were nowhere near the best team in that Championship. Nowhere. Brentford were amazing, and Brentford was so unfortunate not to go up. Fulham ended up getting up there in the end, but I felt they weren't ready to go up. You can never say they weren't good enough. They got up, but I just felt that this is now what we're seeing, that they weren't good enough to go up, and now they're just going to get a hammering every week.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough time for them for sure. Brentford's close to my heart, as you'll know, so that was always a difficult game for me to watch and to see Fulham go up. But they're gonna have a tough time, I think, this year. West Brom, Tottenham. West Brom again, another team that's in a bad place at the moment. Winless from their opening 8 games. Again, how do they kind of get a win on the board? What do they do? Al, what do you think?
They're. I don't know about West Brom. Like, I just think they're just in that bracket again that we've mentioned a few times, and they're struggling. They're really struggling. They've got no firepower really. I just don't see them. They'll nick results against the lower teams, but I don't see them turning over any big boys at all. I don't see them going to places and turning them over. Now is the best time to turn over the big boys because the fans ain't there, and you're not coming to a fortress that is Anfield or Old Trafford. You're going there with no fans, and you've got half a chance. But I don't see West Brom doing that. I don't see them winning many of them big games, and then I know the smaller games are the most important to them, smaller clubs, but yeah, I think they're in trouble with Fulham. I think that them two, if I would put money on them, I would put them two going down now, right now.
Yeah, yeah. Stitches, what's your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think, well, do you think they can maybe change their fortune a bit?
I like their manager, actually. I really like their manager. He's a character. But I just feel like, like Al said, the squad's not strong enough. Who do you fear when you play them? Do you know what I mean? That's the question. Like with most teams, when you go up against most teams, you pick out a player you think who could cause us problems. I don't know who that is from West Brom. Do you know what I mean? They're gonna battle, they're gonna run, they're gonna try and grind out a result. Do you know what I mean? But then I just feel like they're short of quality. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's gonna be telling in the end. And I think it's an interesting point Al makes about when he said it about Fulham about, they came up too early. And I think that could be the case. Like there's some teams that, they just go on a run at the right time towards the end of the season, and then do you know what I mean, that carries them through to the Prem, through the playoffs and whatnot, and brings them into the Prem. But are they really ready for the Premier League? Do you know what I mean? And sometimes they're not, and it's just like it becomes a yo-yo thing. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. It is a bit pointless. And I mean, I know when they were talking about changing up the league and stuff, or the Liverpool and Man United were proposing things, and they were talking about that playoff. But I actually think that was a really good idea. Do you know what I mean? Like, because then that really shows that when the team comes up, it will come up really ready. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining myself right, but anyway, yeah. West Brom, I expect that them and Fulham, they're in for struggles.
Yep. Well, Al, this is the tough bit for me, but Spurs, are Tottenham now title contenders?
8 games, definitely not. Do we have a squad let me tell you, the hype of Tottenham squad is that we brought in a few players. I'm going to be so real with it that we brought in a few players. We brought in Reguilon, obviously. We brought in Højbjerg, who's quality. Doherty. So the 2 fullbacks needed changing, and they got changed. That's Mourinho. That shows what I believe, how good a manager he is becoming. He had half a season last season, and by the way, we ended last season really well. Really well. We think we won 8 out of the last 11, or we didn't lose 9 out of the last 11, and it was looking optimistic at the end of the season, coming into the new season, and then everybody went in on Tottenham. Tottenham went into the top 8. Tottenham were terrible. We got a few players. Even got the right back and the left back, Karleigh, and Højbjerg, and these are guys that are main. Imagine bringing in 4 players. That's nearly half a team, a new team. So imagine bringing in 4 players that are better than the players that you had. How many teams do that? Not many teams bring in better players. They normally bolster their squad, but he's got 4 players that are guaranteed on that team sheet. The only one I potentially question is Bale, only because what has he got? What has he got in him? I don't want to doubt him at all, but you've got to be realistic. He's a massive name, but he got it. Has he still got it? And time will tell on that one with Bale. So I'm optimistic that he has. He's still a very supreme athlete for starters. So you don't lose football ability, you lose athleticism, don't you? So I feel that he's still got it, but we've really strengthened. But with regards to winning the league, what the point's getting at is that yes, they filled in for a reason. The ones that they filled in for aren't good enough. Yeah, Ben Davies and Serge Aurier are not good enough. Full stop. It baffles me. I don't want to rinse him, but it baffles me how Serge Aurier ever played for Paris Saint-Germain. You know, I honestly, and then he got a massive move to Tottenham Hotspur. It's a big club. I don't see him at all as being anything. Like, he's got 3 or 4 mistakes in him. Every defender's got a mistake in them a game. He's got 3 or 4 mistakes in him every game, and he does some wild things. Ben Davies is just a sturdy player that I would say would be a mid-table left back. And so when you say that our squad is really good and people are hyping up, Tottenham got a bit of excellent player in every position, they got competition. We haven't, because them players that got replaced are not good enough. That's why they got replaced, you know. So when people say, "Oh, you got to replace the third story," and you got or Serge Aurier and Doherty are battling position. When Doherty doesn't play, we're half the team that we are. Like we're half the right back because Serge Aurier is not as good as Doherty, and the same on the other side. And then when Højbjerg is not in there, we don't have that player anywhere else. Harry Winks, he's left, right. I mean, I love the guy, but he's not. He doesn't do what Højbjerg does, so we really struggle there. So if we don't get any injuries and we keep that first starting lineup, and with Mourinho, yes, we've got a chance of challenging. But if we have to start dabbling with the squad, which we will have to, for the Europa League and playing on the Sunday, and then it makes it a lot more difficult. I feel that Vinicius, he still has to do something, Tony. So we needed a backup striker to be able to challenge. And is he good enough? I mean, who knows? He's Brazilian. Everybody thinks he's amazing, but I want to see him do something in the Premier League. I don't want to see his name and a few YouTube clips. I want to see him score some goals. And he missed a few chances. So my views on it is that I feel that we'll be up there, but I feel it's going to be a really, really, really funny league where Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, Leicester, I nearly said Arsenal then, but they're all going to be up there maybe. You know, I feel that it could be, like, I honestly do. I think we're in a better position than Arsenal as it is, but I feel Arteta's got a lot about him, and he might bring them through, you know. So yes, I feel we're challenging. I feel we could challenge, and I think if you've got a manager that's going to challenge, it'll be Jose Mourinho, because he knows he demands respect. He walks in the changing room, and if anybody's giving it, he'll say, "Hold on, what have you won?" So just shush, because I'm telling you how to win things here. Poch never had that, did he? You know, Poch goes in there, and Poch would be like, yeah, and Poch is a lovely fella, and he's very astute with his tactics. But I felt that at that stage, it's like subconsciously, all of them are thinking, can he take us there? Because he never took anybody there. You don't feel that with Mourinho. And then the big move, which a lot of people have not seen, is Joe Hart. Joe Hart, a winner, a voice in the changing room. Yes, he's the backup keeper, but this is the guy that's won things and played in massive games, you know. And I feel that someone like that, that's a masterstroke by Mourinho. Because Gazzaniga, who's the third keeper, he is better keeper than Joe Hart. But it's not about who's the better keeper. It's about Joe Hart being in the changing room. He's played in massive Champions League games, and he's not going to crumble. So if Hugo Lloris is injured and we're in the FA Cup final, he trusts Joe Hart's going to go in there, and he's not going to crumble. And he's going to say to the defence, this is how we're playing, and run the show, where he doesn't feel that in Gazzaniga. So that was a massive signing, I think, Joe Hart. And I know it sounds funny, but I honestly think it was. So, yeah, I think we're going to do well this season. I think that a top four finish, if we come outside the top four, and I'll be gutted, because I feel that we definitely are a top four team now.
Oh, some brilliant points there, to be fair. Like I said, it's tough for me to have to talk about Tottenham, but I think what Jose Mourinho is doing there is good, and I think they have a chance, to be fair to him. If they can keep their run going and their form going, I think they've got a chance. I do. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Stitches?
Yeah, no, it's good. Always good to hear Al talk about his team. He does say some controversial things once in a while, but he generally keeps it real about Tottenham. It's interesting. You're definitely Jose in. I could tell.
We need 1-0 at West Brom, 1-0 at Burnley. Them things weren't happening under Poch. I'm telling you, they weren't.
Yeah,
so
I think that I can see that. But question for you then: are you not worried that, because as much as Jose's a winner, as much as he's all of that, he's got this tag of toxicity that he brings with him when, you know what I mean, when he's got players on the fringe, or the way he handles players, sometimes it can really cause issues. Like, and the reason I'm thinking that is I'm looking at someone like Dele Alli, who was pivotal to your team last year and the seasons before, but he's like totally on the scrap heap right now. And I don't know, it's like, do things like that bleeding? Because he usually has a scale.
Hello?
Oh, we've lost him. Stitches is... You still there, Stitches? Are you gone? It looks like he's gone. We'll move on now until he gets back.
I kind of know what he was saying, so let me just touch on the points that he was saying. So I'm a season ticket holder, and I went to every game for the last God knows how long. And Dele Alli, we used to go and watch Dele Alli, and me and my mate, and we used to say Dele Alli was terrible today. That would be a thing we said probably 10 times a season, and then we'd look at the stats and realise that Dele Alli set up 2 goals and scored 1. It was the weirdest thing ever. Like, we were thinking, a lot of people really don't rate Dele Alli, and at one stage it was like, Dele Alli needs to be dropped. It's like Poch stuck on them morals, as in like, oh yeah, but he's done this for me, he's done that for me, he scored in the Champions League games and he produced it in the big games, which he scored a lot of really important goals. But it becomes a time, and I'm sure you've had it in your career, where a manager has to be ruthless and say, yeah, I'm not about the individual, I'm about the team. And Dele Alli has to now earn his space back in the team. If he doesn't want it, then he's not for me, because he doesn't have the heart that I want in a player. And I feel Mourinho's done that, and he's ruthless. He takes players off. When he puts the fringe players in, he takes them off at half time and says, you're not good enough. That's why you're a fringe player. I'm going to get changed. He's always done that. I know that I played at a half decent level, and I know that if I had a manager like that, I would have loved it, because I would have thought, I know where I stand. If I'm poor, he doesn't tell me I'm poor. He's not going to say, oh yeah, you've done all right. No, you was terrible today. And I'll be like, yeah, I know. And I'll go and get changed. You know, that's part and parcel of what it's about. And Dele Alli is not Tottenham. Dele Alli is one player that plays for Tottenham, and Dele Alli is not good enough to be in Tottenham's team right now, the way he's shown in the last year. So I feel that Mourinho, if anything, that's a strength that he's doing that, because all the rest of them are now on there a bit shook, thinking, boy, am I going to be in the team? You know, I don't feel anybody's indispensable. Harry Kane is, Heung-min Son is, and the goalie is. Apart from that, the rest of them could be replaced.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I always preferred when a manager was kind of upfront and honest, and you knew where you stood, because you knew you had to put 100% in, or and he wasn't playing. It was as simple as that, really. So, no, I'm kind of with you on those points. We've lost Stitches at the moment, so until he's back, we'll continue. Yeah. Leicester Wolves. Vardy strikes again from the spot. Yeah. Leicester, obviously, they're becoming, really solid in the top 6. Do you think Leicester could be title contenders again? They obviously did that unbelievable thing where they won the Premier League. Do you think they can do that again under Brendan Rodgers?
Yes, definitely. Like, I think that Leicester, I don't know, like, outside of Man City and Liverpool, because I feel that one of them will still nick it. I don't know why, I just feel they will. But outside of them, I would go Leicester or Chelsea, and then Tottenham next. Like, as in, I feel that Leicester or Chelsea, I'm not saying that's the order it's finishing. I'm just saying if there was a push and they got it right, I think Leicester could do it. And the experience of doing it before, it holds you in good stead, And Brendan Rodgers, he's done a fantastic job at Liverpool. People forget that how well that guy done at Liverpool. And I know that Stitches is not a fan of his at all. That's why I wish he was here now, because he knows that I've always backed Brendan. And until Klopp started doing what he's doing the last couple of years, I felt Brendan had done just as good as Klopp at one stage, So yes, Brendan Rodgers, I feel he could do it, I honestly think he could do it. So I'd like to see it. If it wasn't Tottenham, I'd want Leicester to win it. But the answer to your question is, I think Leicester can do it. And with Jamie Vardy, he's just got a guy, like when we went back to West Brom having no danger man, Vardy is the most dangerous man. Like, Harry Kane's an amazing footballer, and he's got much more to his game than Jamie Vardy. But, geez, when you play against Jamie Vardy, you're thinking, this guy's probably going to score today. If not, he's going to give one of them to defend the black eye outside. He's going to do something because he's just there. He's a pest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, do you know what? Speaking of Brendan Rodgers, I think Brendan Rodgers is one of the most underrated managers who's out there, because you look at every club he's kind of been to, he's improved them before. Obviously, it might not have worked out, but he's made them better. He's achieved some great things, but he never kind of gets spoken about in that elite manager's situation, amongst others. But I think he's a fantastic manager. He's done fantastic things. And he looks like he potentially could achieve something great at Leicester again, which would be another club that he's kind of moved forward and done really well with.
Definitely.
No, for sure. We'll touch on Man City, Liverpool then. City didn't start great. It was a little bit mediocre, wouldn't they? Their season started mediocre, but they may be coming into a little bit of form. It was a good game today. It was exciting. What was your take on the game? Was it ended up a 1-1 draw? What was your take on the game?
Yeah, I thought City should have won it. I thought they looked stronger. Kevin De Bruyne missed a penalty. That's rare that happens, really. A guy that hits the ball so sweetly to scuff it like that.
Yeah, no one saw that coming.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? So for a man that literally will hit the ball sweet 99 times out of 100, and then he scuffs the penalty. But yeah, that's pressure, and that's just one of them things. But I feel that they are coming good. We've got them in the next couple of weeks, so that's a massive game. You know, I feel that that's kind of much more crunch for them than it is for us, because we'll see where they're at. Like, everybody would expect them to beat us. I would have thought. We'll just see where they're at. Because if we turn them over, then people will start saying, yeah, Tottenham are the real deal and they're going for it. But if they turn us over, it'll be like City are back. So that's a really interesting game to see. And they've got, you can't knock the players they've got. They're always going to be up there, and they've got some quality players.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Salah. Do you think Salah is unfairly treated in terms of the whole diving debate? You know, he does get pinned on that a lot. I will say that sometimes I think he can over-exaggerate a touch, for sure. Or do you think that's just the modern day game now? Do you think that's just the way football is? I mean, I look at the Salah incident, not Salah incident, the Mane incident, you know, and the penalty with Kyle Walker. I personally didn't think it was enough for Mane to go down, but do you think players will just buy fouls now and just buy penalties because they can?
And because they can, and even if it's not in their moral makeup, they have to. Because the manager said, "Why have you not gone down there?" Why? Like, Harry Kane's very clever at it. Have you seen the one against Adam Lallana? That's kind of genius. Like, he didn't even look like he done it, and obviously he's the darling of English football, so they're not really going to home in on him. But when you think about it, when you think about it, Salah's doing what Salah needs to do for his football club. I genuinely don't think that. He exaggerates sometimes, and yeah, some of them, like them really flamboyant ones, they're ridiculous. But if you touch him in the area, then it's going to be a penalty. I mean, use your common sense now. You just have to leave him, and you can't do that. So you have to get close to him, and it's all about what happened way before that, getting in position to be in the right place to stop yourself having to overstretch. You're always going to get roasted by players like Salah and Mane. They're world-class footballers and they're playing against not world-class defenders most of the time, so they're always going to destroy people. But sometimes you look and you think, are you actually that stupid? The Mane one, that's Kyle Walker. He's not done a massive amount, Mane, has he, to get in that position? A little shimmy of the shoulder, and he's going through. He's going towards the byline, I would say. He's not going to crack a shot in from there. He may put it across the face of goal. But the momentum, once Kyle Walker's got that momentum, a big man like that, he's not really going to slow down. Mane thinking, soon as you touch me, I'm gone. And I was a striker, and I would have done exactly the same thing. If you're foolish enough to come across me, and I've done a little shimmy, and I've gone into that space, and then I'm going to slow down. Definitely. If you touch me, I'm going down.
No, I think you make a good point there. I think my thing is, you look at the two incidents in that game. So you look at Sterling, who had, again, it was a similar foul, but he stayed on his feet until he got into the box, and then obviously the momentum did take him down, but wasn't rewarded a free kick or anything. And for me, I felt that Sterling's one was probably more of a foul.
Yeah.
I suppose that's where the frustration comes with the inconsistency of it, you know, because Kyle Walker's punished for that because it's in the penalty box, and maybe that, you know, obviously Mane goes down a little bit easier, so to speak. Sterling stays on his feet and doesn't get the free kick, and ultimately they kind of go and end up nearly scoring and go and score from that. So it's a tough one for refs to make that decision. But you know, for me, I feel like I think the modern game has gone that way now, where it is you have to buy your fouls and your free kicks, because if you do try and be honest, you're not rewarded for being honest.
Right. Yeah. And with the Sterling one, Sterling would have went down if the ball would have got a little bit further away from him. He thought, I could get the ball here, and then he's not gone down, and that was a foul. He nudged him in the back. It's a foul, definitely a foul. And the ref didn't give it, and then they've gone up the other end, and that was a penalty in my opinion. But because we're not talking about the game 10, 15 years ago, we're talking about this game. And this game here, if you touch someone in the area, it's a penalty. Like, they just fall over. And that's just, that's going to happen. I've seen Salah do it several times, and I've thought, as a striker, genius. Well done. You felt him. As you've gone like that, you realise he's going to launch for that. Just touch it and fall over. Why wouldn't you do it? You were just going to get a free goal, basically. And the money in the game and the pressure from the fans, and it's a form of cheating, but not. It's a form of a skill in a way. I know it sounds funny that it's a skill, but it is a skill.
I think it has become that. I agree with you. I think it has become a skill now.
And like Harry Kane does it, he jumps in front of it. He knows he's got away from him slightly, or he's not going to be able to whip it in, or he's not going to get a shot off. I know what, I just got my foot there. As soon as he touches me, I'm not going to let him break my legs. As soon as he's touching me, my foot's already ready to come to the ground, and I'm gone. And it's a free kick because the ref has to give a free kick because he just wiped me out. So yeah, I don't blame them guys. The odd one where I've seen Salah do, but I've also seen a lot of players do ridiculous dives. Salah's going to get it in the neck because he's at Liverpool, and Liverpool are the dominant force right now. That's why he's going to get it. But loads of players dive. They do. So now I think he gets done by doing it. It reflects like how much of a fantastic player he is, because he's phenomenal. And going back to the first game of the season when he scored that goal against Leeds, that was the difference in that game. Leeds and Liverpool were quite matched that day, and then Salah just brings it down, bangs it top corner. No one at Leeds can do that. So that's why you got to look at them guys and think, wow, like, you just respect them. Stop looking at the little bit negative and just think, this guy's serious.
Yeah, no, some good points there. Stitches, you managed to make it back for the
Yeah, sorry, man. The gods got me because I was talking about Mourinho. Clearly, like, they weren't feeling it, so he's cut me out.
I'll let you have your say in Liverpool, and then we'll scoot past the Arsenal Aston Villa game because
I was wondering if you'd seen the latest results there, but yeah, let's move on swiftly. But yeah, no, it's an interesting debate you was having, about Salah, because we talked about this on the other show where I talked about some stats that just show the way penalties go and the way that players get judged. The foreign players get called out on this so-called diving, but the English players, it tends to be they've been very clever there. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, that being what it is, I think with penalties, if referees started giving penalties for players getting contact in the penalty area in a way that restricts them from or hampers them, then you would find that players didn't dive or simulate the touches as much, and they just don't do it. So managers are now obviously telling players, if you get touched, go down. You know what I mean? Make the referee make a decision, and that's unfortunate, but that's the way the game is now. As for our performance today, do you know what? Klopp, I love it. I love the way. Do you know what I mean? I love the way that he changed things up. Everyone was all week. It was, is it going to be Firmino? Is it going to be Jota? And he put them both in. Do you know what I mean? We went 4-2-4 against Man City at their home ground. That's big balls. That's big balls. And you know what? I loved it. I thought do you know what I mean? Credit to City though. They worked it out and they got themselves back in the game. It was a very good move. The one time we didn't get out there to stop the ball coming in, and you give Kevin De Bruyne that amount of space, he's going to punish you. And as soon as that ball went in the area and it got a touch off Gomez, and they went to VAR, I instantly knew it was going to be a penalty. I knew it was going to be a penalty, and you wouldn't expect him to miss that. But I'll take that at this stage because we're 5 points ahead of them at this time. They got a game in hand. But, I still think it's going to be a race between us and them. And, yeah, I mean, Chelsea could come good. Mourinho could come good with Tottenham. But I feel like they're going to have a mid-season implosion. Something's going to happen. There's going to be some controversy or something that's going to affect the changing room over there. That's what I foresee, because I've seen it time and time again with this guy. But other than that, I mean, I'm pleased considering. Have you seen our injury list?
Yeah.
See the amount of players we've got out at the moment. So, as I said the other week, if I was the rest of the league, I'd be concerned with the fact that we've had that many knocks, that many injuries, and we're still there. Do you know what I mean? Because when some of these players come back, all it does is strengthen us even more. So yeah, happy days. I'm pleased.
Liverpool looking in good shape, and it was a good game. It was an exciting game to see, and I feel like we haven't had one of those games for a while, so it was good to see for sure. Yeah. Well, let's touch on it briefly, which is not going to be. We're definitely not going to stay long on this one, but for those of you that don't know the score or don't want to know the score, I would turn us off now quickly. But Arsenal are losing 3-0 as far as I know. That's where I was. I don't know if the game's finished now, actually. It might have finished, but it was 3-0 to Aston Villa against Arsenal, which is, yes, painful for me to say. funny enough as well, before I knew the score, I was going to say that this game will show kind of how far Arsenal have come, because these are the teams that Arsenal seem to struggle against. When you go against the Villa or the so-called smaller teams, Arsenal always seem to struggle, but it seems like they're up to their old tricks again. And Aston Villa are obviously doing well away. So a tough one for me to talk about, but we'll leave it at that, gents. We'll leave it at that. Listen, thank you for joining me again. Another fantastic show. Really enjoyed it there. I hope you enjoyed it too. Some real good points and opinions. Like I said, please follow us, like and subscribe, comment on what we said today, and whether you agree with some of the things we said or whether you don't. We'd love to hear from you. And last of all, I'd like to thank Moss Bros again for being our sponsor. And like I said, that 15% code is there. It will be there in the video. It's unfortunately not valid at the moment because we're all locked down. But as soon as we're back open and back out of lockdown, make sure you go there and get that 15% off. Gents, thank you for your time. Thank you for your opinions. Real fun show tonight. I loved it. I hope you enjoyed it too. I look forward to catching you on again soon.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Good stuff. Cheers. Take care.